This is the Bat Pod.
Grab your bat microphone, it's time to start the show.
Welcome to the Bat Pod, a Batman comic book discussion podcast. On today's show, we're going to be discussing Batman, Shadow of the Bat #3, and Detective Comics 475.
Bruce Wayne, quick like Tim Drake, fierce like Damien. Grab your headphones, listen up, you know you love it. Drop the facade. Like the Dark Knight Detective, they've got some perspective. They're a pure crime-fighting collective. It's the Bat Pod.
Welcome to episode 125. My name is Bill Beer, and joining me tonight, the Mayor McCheese to my Hamburglar.
Yes.
J. David Weeder.
Yes, I think everybody by now who's on our socials know I have a weird obsession with Mayor McCheese, so that is an honor.
Why is that? What's the thing about it?
I have no earthly idea.
I don't remember Mayor McCheese.
I mean, just the McDonaldland things. I mean, I'm telling my age here. McDonaldland stuff takes me back to my childhood. For some reason, I fixated on Mayor McCheese, so I had to have the glass, the vintage glass.
I remember you shared that weird tree that was in the McDonald's years ago.
And that was in one of the local, that picture wasn't, but we had one of those, the apple pie tree.
Right.
There was some terrifying stuff, but also it's kind of magical too. McDonald's now are just sterile. I know people tuned in for my opinion on McDonald's, but they're going to get it anyway.
There you go. Only here would you get that.
The Bat Pod, a McDonaldland discussion podcast.
Unless there's a McDonald's podcast, you never know.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
What's
the anal McRib celebration.
Right. Okay. Since you brought it up, and I know we're going off on a tangent, do you like the McRib?
Oh, I wait for it every year, yeah. I know it's not bad, not good for me, but...
I don't even know what it is. It doesn't even look like anything that should be digested, but it tastes delicious.
It's my version of pumpkin spice. Like, you get to this time of year, you know the McRib is coming.
There you go.
It's redneck pumpkin spice.
Yes, absolutely. So on to the show here. As I said, we're going to have the third part of Batman Shadow of the Bat, and we got Detective Comics 475, The Joker Fish. So we got a question this week from one of our 3 listeners, and I posed it to you like a week ago and said, how do you want to, if we want to use it as a discussion, so I'll bring it up again, and I'll let you go first. I have some thoughts on it. So, I guess the popular thing nowadays is to say, hey, what would happen if Batman fought Green Lantern? Who would win? Or this hero would fight this hero, or this hero would fight this villain. Who would win? The question that was posed from Scott Wood was, who would win between a fight between the Joker and Harley Quinn? And what version of the Joker and what version of Harley Quinn? Which I thought was more interesting than just like who would win between a fight between Joker and Harley Quinn. So I'll let you step up first.
I took more thought than I probably should have, but I went with the versions first. I had to define that. And I went with the original Harley Quinn, specifically, the Batman the Animated Series version, and I just stuck with that Joker as well. Mm-hmm. And it came down to me having to admit it would be Harley Quinn. And there's proof in the show because she was chasing the Joker with a plane at one point. As soon as she found her resolve, if she found her resolve, the Joker wouldn't stand a chance. He's crafty, but once she gets mad, he's got, and once she's decided, no, we're done. It's all done. It's over. Joker's going down.
And I picked Joker from the 70s. This Joker that we're talking about today, actually. The Joker with the fedora and the purple outfit. That's the Joker I picked. But my Harley Quinn is also from the comics, and it's a more modern Harley Quinn. She kind of has gotten over the Joker. Well, to a certain point, she's gotten over the Joker. But she's sort of anti-hero. She's not necessarily... And that's a little bit from me reading, current comics, because that's the way she portrayed nowadays. But I think Harley would win, definitely. Mm-hmm. And it's really funny that this question got asked because in a crossover in the last, I guess it was 2 years ago, maybe, called Joker War. Harley Quinn actually shoots Joker in the face.
Oh.
And he has to wear an eye patch briefly.
He gets better, I'm assuming.
But yeah, he's so arrogant, he doesn't think much of her, in my opinion. He's so arrogant, he doesn't think much of her, and she knows that he's like this. I mean, once she got over that initial infatuation, he knows she's like this, and she just is very bitter about it. And that's my portrayal of, my point of view of the comics version of those two. So
I guess we both ended up in the same place, just different paths.
Now, I don't necessarily, talking about Harley Quinn, I don't necessarily love her character from the movies.
No, not as Harley Quinn. I like Margot Robbie. I just feel like it's a very different Harley Quinn, like the Suicide Squad movies and I guess Birds of Prey, but
I think it's the Harley Quinn from the posters, that she has a big mallet and how she would be. How, they would, and I guess a character that would appeal to moviegoers and not necessarily source material and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I didn't have a big problem, but yeah, I did. It wasn't my Harley Quinn.
So, okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to head to the books.
Come on, Robin. To the Batcave. We haven't one moment to lose.
Our first book tonight is Batman Shadow of the Bat #3. Writer Alan Grant. Art Norm Brayfogle. Colorist Adrian Roy. Letter Todd Klein. Editor Dennis O'Neil. And cover artist Brian Stelfreeze. And we get a cover here for issue #3. I really like this cover, and it's a different version of, Batman trying to break his chains out of Arkham. And I don't know about you, but I really love what he does with the cape here.
Yeah.
It's like the cape has a mind of his own.
It's very wispy like Spawn's cape, even though Spawn didn't exist at this point.
Uh-huh.
But it has a personality. Yeah, I agree.
Of course, it's different than what happens in the book. It's a little higher, but we have a different artist, a different interpretation, and I really like this cover.
Yeah, I like it's weird, the silhouette and the way the light plays off of Batman's muscles and stuff. Somehow this is just a visually engaging cover, even though there's not much actually happening, which is tricky to do, but this pulls it off.
Yeah, absolutely. So in this issue, refusing to believe that Batman could murder a police officer, Nightwing breaks into Arkham Asylum. While sneaking through the ventilation shaft, Nightwing runs into Batman. In Gotham, the killer murders a man named Patrick Glimp, then places a phone call to learn the whereabouts of one Zali Harem. His wife tells the killer to try the Plug Lucky Casino. Back at Arkham, Batman and Nightwing bypass the security cameras and sneak into Jeremiah Arkham's office. Batman explains to Nightwing that Detective Kitch is fine, and the entire plot was staged to get into Arkham without raising Jeremiah's suspicions. Confident that Zsasz has found a way to escape the asylum, they begin searching through Jeremiah's files and find some sort of clue. Batman learns of the connection between Zsasz and fellow patient Everett Mallet. They accidentally set off an alarm and Arkham sends his orderlies to the office. In Gotham, Zali Hiram runs out of luck at the Plug Lucky Casino, and the managers won't extend his credit line. He leaves the casino and runs into the killer. Commissioner Gordon discovers Hiram's body hours later. At Arkham, Batman and Nightwing fight off a horde of orderlies. Nightwing escapes back through the vents, but Batman gives himself up. Arkham has Batman taken to the punishment room. Here he is forced to confront a room full of his most dangerous adversaries, including a new foe called Amygdala. While his old villains watch from behind a glass wall, Batman fights against Amygdala. He eventually defeats him, but Jeremiah Arkham, monitoring the entire affair from his office, pushes a button that raises the glass wall as all the villains from Arkham descend upon Batman. So, part 3 here, you open up the first page and we get Nightwing jumping in to Arkham and breaking into Arkham. What did you think of this opening scene?
Beautifully rendered, and I love that it literally picks up right where the last issue stopped. The last issue, he was standing on the turrets of Arkham, and here he is just literally seconds later.
looks pretty awesome. And I love how, it shows action with this art.
Mm-hmm.
He literally draws 4 Nightwings, as he's swinging and as he's landing and that sort of thing. And I appreciate that because, we could have got Nightwing just landing and no idea of, okay, where was he landing from? Did he jump off the roof? What did he do exactly? And I really appreciate the art here because it adds a little something extra just to show, one, his athletic ability, because I don't think I'm doing that.
No. I know I'm not.
So yeah, I did appreciate the artwork a lot here.
I wonder if, and I'm glad you said it because I think it's easy as somebody versed in reading comics to take the motion lines for granted. We're used to this. This is normal storytelling. It can still be appreciated, but we tend to get used to it. We get numb to it. So even when it's done semi-well, and here it's done fantastically, but even when it's done semi-well, you got to think about what the art is doing to your brain. So even a lame version is something kind of cool. In this, it's I would say a masterclass. So it's just doubly appreciated. Let me enunciate correctly.
And there's been several people that, I've given a graphic novel to in my family, and it's like, oh, I read it in 3 minutes. I read the whole thing. And I'm like, how did you read that quickly? And I think that's the difference of, a long-time reader that is taking in, some of these panels and some of the different art. Because if you think about it, in that first page, you get, what, like 7 words? Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, you read the words and just go on to the next and go on to the next. The first 2 pages just has, a handful of sentences. But you don't really get an appreciation until you sit there and just look at some of these panels.
Yeah.
So we get Nightwing, he breaks into Arkham. He goes into a ventilation duct or air conditioning duct or whatever you want to call it. And surprisingly, he runs into Batman.
I love that.
Or Batman's more surprised than he is.
That's a nice little comedic beat. What are you doing here?
Mm-hmm. And then we get a husband. It looked like he's calling his wife from a payphone. And the kids at home are like, payphone? What is that? Why don't you just use a cell phone? In the old days, you had to put a quarter in or 10 cents, or depends how old you are, into a payphone. And we have the killer, actually. I'm calling him the killer because we know who the killer actually is. But right now, I'm calling him the killer as the story goes. He has that super big old top hat.
Yeah.
Apparently, this guy, Patrick, has not been doing something, very ethical. So the killer's going to take care of him for the wife, I guess. And then you see the arm come up, and it's either a Zaz, copycat.
Zaz or a copycat, one or the other. They're, putting those marks on the skin.
He calls Miss Hiram and says, try the Lucky Plug Casino.
Plug Lucky.
Does that stand for something? Plug Lucky. Plug Lucky. Does that stand for something that I'm missing?
Nothing I know of, no. Just that you're...
Oh, okay.
Like around... I'm from the Ozarks, so we say plum lucky or something like that, so it might be something along those lines.
Okay. So then we get that little comedy, routine, and Nightwing's like, we can't go on meeting like this. And Batman seems mad. What are you doing here?
You're messing up his whole thing.
So then they help him to break into the office here. And it's one of those scenes, camera rotating. They got 60 seconds to get in the office until the camera comes back around. And the guard's like, hey, I thought I saw something there.
Makes me think of once again, the video game Arkham Asylum. Where you get they kind of catch you. It kind of goes back to Metal Gear Solid, but they're kind of sort of aware, so you've got to disappear. I'm starting to realize how much that game took from this.
Interesting, and they probably don't have monitors. Well, they definitely don't have monitors like this anymore.
No.
or old computer. I mean, this was in the early 90s. That looked like a Radio Shack computer almost.
Pretty much, yeah. The fan sounds like a jet ready to take off.
Yeah.
Our younger listeners like, what? Explain this to me.
So yeah, the one thing I found interesting here is, Nightwing breaks into this computer and Arkham gets a alert. Well, he's in the middle of a dream, and he's dreaming of a world where all, the Arkham inmates are like good people now.
Yeah.
Joker is shaking hands with a police officer. A Scarecrow is helping an old lady cross the street. You got Killer Croc arm wrestle for charity.
And along comes the Bat.
Yeah, and the Bat. And the Bat is the evil one. And he's dreaming. He's dreaming. The evil Bat.
That says a lot about Arkham. His perceptions.
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah. And the orderlies break in. They got bats or clubs or billy clubs or whatever you want to call them. And then we jump to the casino and we see Hiram, and, he must owe, the owners of the casino a good bit. You're into us for 50 already. 50 grand, I would assume.
Oh, yeah. He's deep.
Yeah. That's the kind of, that's the kind of money that you don't just have one bouncer kicking you out. You have another guy, a couple guys, and they're following you. They're going to show up at your house or whatever and say when you're going to pay. And he runs into the killer again, who has a gun this time.
Yeah, that threw me. That threw me a lot. But I kind of figure it's to allay suspicion, just to not connect the two.
Yeah.
But at first, I'm like, wait, what am I dealing with here?
And then we have, Batman has taken on these orderlies, and he tells Nightwing to get out of here. And you even have Arkham. So what is there? 4, 5, 6 guys he takes out.
Mm-hmm.
So Nightwing can escape. That was pretty cool. He's diving through the door and just knocks them all out.
And then surrenders.
And I think he's to the point of, Arkham isn't going to unmask me until I do. He has this thing that, he wants Batman to unmask himself. So there's no danger of figuring out what his secret identity is and that sort of thing. So then Zali hire him, and he has a suicide note, of course.
Mm-hmm. I would think they would notice this feels really, really staged. That's the only part of this story that kind of threw me.
Right, because a suicide. It's made to look like a suicide. So it's another murder that's staged.
It is, yeah, but this time it's staged to not look like a murder. That's and normally there's ways to. And I'm not a cop. I'm not going to pretend to be. There's things that stand out that says something's not right. The angle, who knows?
Yeah.
I guess on first blush, it would throw me.
And then we see Zaz out of his room, and he's in Everett Mallet's room, and it looked like he's killing Mallet, or has killed Mallet with a pillow. Yeah,
I like, and this all gets explained, but it took me a while to remember. Mm-hmm. I'm like, why is this happening? What? There's so much. Like, this story is much like an onion. It gets peeled back further and further.
Yes.
Or an ogre, if you will.
And then they have him out of his little cage, and he's like, I'm sorry I missed last night's excitement. And, they're holding him with, I don't even know what you call that, a neck.
It's a collar of some kind with batons attached to it.
Yes.
It's a Hannibal Lecter look.
Right. And they put him back, I guess he used the restroom, and they put him back in his little, iron lung or whatever you want to call that thing.
It's kind of what it is. I know he doesn't need it for that, but that's effectively visually what it looks like.
So I'm thinking, they would only put some of the most dangerous criminals in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, everything about it makes Zaz very, very scary. And then you look at him and
all you see is his mouth.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's adding to it.
Right. It just looks creepy with his mouth smiling and him talking. And
yeah, there's something very different. He's a different breed of villain. I'll give you that.
And they have Batman tied up. I don't know if they were beating him or what they were doing. And they shove him in the room. And you see villains on one side behind a glass. I do have a question, because we see all these different villains. And I know the majority of them. Who's the guy in the green hood that looks like the Spectre?
I thought it was the Spectre. No, I didn't think anything of it.
No, who's the guy?
Oh, is that the Spook? Yeah.
I'm thinking that's who it was. And then the guy with the big eye patch. I'm not sure who that is.
I don't see that one. Holy cow, I just noticed Crazy Quilt.
Yeah, Crazy Quilt is back there behind Tweedledee and Tweedledum, you know. The guy standing above them. It's like, I don't know who he is.
No, I don't know that one. I would almost think Solomon Grundy if it looked anything like Solomon Grundy, but it has that mood.
Right. Then he's confronted by Amidala, who just looks like the Hulk, almost.
A little bit, yeah. Like a cross between the Hulk and Sloth from the Goonies. Hey, you guys.
Right. He just takes Batman by the head and starts slamming it. Well, they're in a padded room, so that's not doing much good. But I really like these set of panels here because I feel like we're not missing any action. We're getting a backhand swipe by Amidala. We're getting, he's slamming Batman's head into the wall. And then we're getting Batman kicking his legs out from underneath of him. And the fight is just something to take in because we don't get this. I feel like the artwork in here is very unique because we don't get this a lot. That we're seeing like every part of this fight.
No, it's kind of drawn out, yeah. It's a blow by blow, no pun intended, but yeah, it's in. I don't know if you could. I mean, it's a solid fight.
Definitely, and he ends up winning and knocking him out. And the one panel here that I see Batman and his cape sort of has him on his own, like the cover. What did you think of that when he's standing over Amidala and, he has knocked him out, but his cape kind of is gone crazy. It's different from any of the others in the book. What did you think of that panel?
It's a bit much. It doesn't make sense unless you're interpreting it as like the perception of Amygdala and the other villains, that you see that creature of the night.
Yes. I guess that's where that come from, or maybe it's Arkham, because Arkham is on he has all these controls and a microphone, and he tells the Batman, you haven't learned anything, and I'm afraid that just won't do. It won't do at all. And then he lifts up the glass wall and it says, it's time to let your enemies settle a few old scores. Way back whenever I see the villains, coming at Batman and them all together like this, reminds me a little bit of Batman 400.
Mm-hmm.
A big Arkham escape like in Nightfall. I just love seeing and that has me giddy when I see, them all together like this.
Because it's kind of the ultimate battle.
Right. So, yeah, I still don't know who the guy with the eye patch is. And then over here beside the Joker is a guy that looks really ugly. I'm not sure who that is.
I don't know that one either. I feel like I should.
And Tweedledee, Tweedledum. There's another group of guys that look like they're twins in the middle there next to Two-Face.
I thought that was Tweedledee and Tweedledum until you pointed that out. They're over there.
Yeah. Right, they're over to the right.
Weird. I'm not sure on that one. I wish I had looked. I wish they had, like, when they did Kingdom Come, they would have a breakdown of all the characters in every scene. I wish they'd done that with this.
Yes, that would have kind of been cool, especially you're reading for the first time, or maybe when I was reading it then I knew some of the characters. So here I have a list here. It's from the DC database or whatever you want to call that thing online, and it has Black Mask, Cavalier, Cornelius Stirk. I think that was the guy that has the bulging eyes. Crazy Quilt, Joker, Mad Hatter, Mr. Zaz. Just appearing in this book. Poison Ivy, Riddler, Scarecrow, Spook, Tweedledee, Tweedledum, Two-Face, and Ventriloquist. Actually, I think they're missing a couple people, but I don't think the guy with the eye patch was named.
Maybe he's just a random guy.
Yeah, random guy that's... So any final thoughts on this particular one?
No, I just love how this whole storyline has unfolded, but suddenly you have these whole new elements coming in. Why are these people getting killed? Why do they want to kill the inmate? So this has progressively kept your attention and also kind of bucked traditional storytelling. So this is a solid issue again.
Yeah, I agree. I really love this issue. It almost seems like it's getting better and better.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really, and at the time you're like, who is this Mr. Gazaz? I was really intrigued by this character. How's he getting out? Come on, I want to know. It gives you little bits and pieces, and it's like at the end here, how in the world is Batman going to get out of this?
Yeah, this is nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, all the villains at once. That's how you do a finale, or a cliffhanger.
Oh, definitely. Definitely, yeah. Classic cliffhanger. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to head to this podcast promo.
Just imagine the mightiest heroes of our time.
All of them on one team.
Since there are so many of us, we have a chance to do more than just put out fires. We can be proactive. We can do some real good in the world.
JLUCast brings you coverage of Justice League Unlimited, the ultimate gathering of DC's heroes and villains, and the culmination of the greatest interpretation of the DC Universe ever.
Join Chris and Cindy Franklin as they relive the team-ups, the battles, the conspiracies.
I had no idea that the Girl Scouts were responsible for the crop circle phenomenon.
Few people do. Few even think to ask the question.
The romance and the fun.
A head start. You're getting soft in your old age.
Don't you have a tall building to go lead?
And the adventure continues.
Find us wherever fine Fire and Water podcasts are available.
All right, we have returned, and this time we're continuing our look at the Marshall Rogers, Steve Englehart run on Detective Comics with issue number 475. People will probably know this story, The Laughing Fish. Again, written by Steve Englehart, drawn by Marshall Rogers, inked by Terry Austin, lettered by Ben Oda, and colored by Jerry Serpe. It's nighttime in Gotham City. Isn't it always nighttime in Gotham City? It's nighttime in Gotham City.
So.
Yeah, that's always the full moon. It's always nighttime. But Batman is swinging across the rooftops until he comes across the apartment window of Silver St. Cloud. After being invited in, more or less, Batman inquires whether or not Miss Cloud had anything to speak to him about. The look she had given him the previous evening expressed something akin to recognition. Silver stares back at him and confirms her suspicions that Batman is Bruce Wayne. Batman in turn suspects that Silver may know the truth. An uncomfortable moment passes between the two, but Silver gives no sign of recognizing the real man, which is an act, since she doesn't want to lose Bruce Wayne's affection and trust. Moments after Batman has left, he telephones Silver as Bruce Wayne, asking to postpone their date, and Silver cancels the date altogether, and then decides to leave town for a while. Batman continues patrolling the city and eventually swoops down toward the Gotham docks, where he's approached by a fisherman who shows him barrels of freshly caught fish. Ordinarily, this would be mundane. However, this gets Batman's attention because all the fish bear faces similar to the Joker. The fisherman asks Batman why someone would want to create fish with Joker faces, but Batman discourages the inquiry, saying the Joker's methods are similar to his own madness. The following morning, the Joker and his henchmen barge into the office of the City Copyright Commission. The Joker introduces himself to the clerk named G. Carl Francis, indicating that he wishes to trademark his designer Jokerfish. Joker is told that nobody can register a copyright on a natural resource, even one mutated into a Jokerfish, and the Joker scoffs and tells the man he has until midnight to make his desires reality, or else he will be dead. The Joker leaves the office to confer with his underlings. As he is wont to do, he arbitrarily pushes one of them into the oncoming traffic, where they struck and killed by a truck. Later at the Tobacconist's Club, Rupert Thorne grows extremely nervous. His aide Marco comes to greet him, but his presence only serves to agitate Thorne even further. Thorne goes to the restroom to wash his face when he's suddenly accosted by the Joker. The Joker knows that Thorne was involved with the mysterious death of Hugo Strange and wonders if Strange may have told the true identity of the Batman to him. So far as the Joker is concerned, his greatest adversary has no identity other than being the Batman. However, he is satisfied that Thorne knows nothing and leaves him be. Frightened, Rupert scrambles out of the building, hops into a sedan, and drives off. That evening, Batman is summoned by Commissioner Gordon to the home of G. Carl Francis, who sought police protection against the Joker. Batman inspects the place for traps or hidden weapons, but he finds nothing suspicious. Then the Joker broadcasts a message across television waves declaring that he will kill Francis at 12 a.m. The three men maintain their vigil well into the evening, but at the stroke of midnight, Francis' study begins to fill with noxious gas. Batman quickly slides a rebreather into Francis's mouth, but it does no good. The smoke clears and G. Carl Francis is dead, a grotesque smile etched across his face, the calling card of the Joker. Batman deduces that the gas that filled the room was one part of the binary compound, otherwise harmless until mixed with another agent. He determines that the Joker must have sprayed Francis with the secondary agent when he visited his office earlier that day. Later, Rupert Thorne continues driving across the state in the dark, rainy weather where he picks up a hitchhiker, Silver St. Cloud. To be continued. To start off with, what do you think of the cover, Bill?
I really like the cover.
Yeah, it's simple. It's Joker and Batman in front of a clock. Joker's holding two Joker fish like a pair of guns.
Yes.
I like the clock imagery, and I don't know why. I know it ties into the story, but somehow it just makes this stand out more.
Right. The yellow in it.
Yeah, I really do like it. It's simple. It's not a lot of action, but it's enough.
Very colorful.
And then you open the first page, and it's just gorgeous.
Absolutely. I mean, you see part of Gotham City here, and Batman's on a rooftop. What's better than that?
His cape is spread out. It looks... And Batman's probably the smallest element in this, giving you that idea that Gotham's huge. I love it. It's just...
And there's a lot of detail in this.
Mm-hmm. I like the rain clouds and the sort of etching quality to it, kind of like what Frank Miller would later do with Sin City, where he would roll black ink on the paper and then etch out his images. Of course, they would do that with Batman the Animated Series as well. Then Batman shows up at Silver's apartment, and I immediately thought of Batman Forever. It's like it's the same dynamic. All of it is there, and I didn't realize how much they had taken from this.
He just opens the window and comes right on in.
Saying, may I come in? Like, you're already in, bro.
Yeah. And he's holding his arm up, almost like Dracula.
Yeah.
When he says, may I come in, he's like covering his face.
And but just to be clear, for those that haven't read it, she's wearing only a towel.
Yeah, she's wearing a towel, sitting on the bed, doing her hair in the mirror, and then she turns and looks at him, and...
This wouldn't play the same way today.
No, you wouldn't think so.
But Silver looks great, I will say that.
And of course, they're thinking... Well, it's mostly Silver thinking... And Batman, there's that one panel. She knows who I am beneath the mask. She called to me, staring like she is staring now. She knows.
It's such a weird dynamic because he knows she knows, but neither one of them are going to say it because, oh wow, it mirrors the Joker, doesn't it? Joker only wants to see Batman. He doesn't want anybody under that mask. It ruins it. And Silver's kind of in maybe the other side of the coin, but the same idea. Bruce being Batman is problematic at best. Her telling him she knows is problematic. So it's a very similar dynamic that I just dawned on me.
Yeah, and he kind of it seems like he wants her to say it because he's like, you had something to tell me last night. You called out to me, and she's like, I don't think so. It's what the kids would say nowadays, gaslighting.
A little bit.
She's gaslighting Batman.
Yeah, and it's weird because I think Bruce wants her to know because at that point he can be himself and should let her in fully. But of course that's not going to happen. That wouldn't further the book, would it?
No, I don't think so.
So nothing gets resolved there and Batman goes swinging off, but the next few pages are just intricate as I'm looking at Batman swinging, and that's kind of a chaotic panel design too. And then we see the Joker fish and it's just down to the scales and like the griminess of the fish.
That's for sure. And they got their little teeth. It looks like piranha.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be more up Joker's alley.
Yeah.
But why? I mean, I know for the sake of story, but you got to think, why are the sailors and the fishermen saying, hey, Batman, take a look at the... Well, I guess if it's Joker, it would make sense. Ignore me. I retract that.
Yeah, yeah. Because we're in an era that, it's very... Batman 66 has an influence on some of these stories. I mean, it's not total, but there is like Batman out talking to the fishermen and that sort of thing. And it's like, look at these fish.
I almost hear Adam West. What's happening, chums?
Yeah, right.
That dastardly fiend has done it again. I'm sorry. And then the Joker shows up for real. And I'm going to admit that I, of course, saw the Batman the Animated Series version of this before reading the comic. It's one of the few adaptations like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like they got everything, the details right on this.
I love, him walking into the room and he's taking his hat off and he's laughing as this Joker would, and the ha-has are wrapped all the way around him.
That's such a cool look.
Toe.
Yeah.
And a Joker card falls out of his pocket, or his hat, maybe even his hat. Did it fall out of his hat?
Oh, it did. It looks like it, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm wondering if that was how he slipped the compound in. Because I went back and tried to see where that occurred.
Yeah, that's possible. You know, in the reaction of this Mr. Francis, you know, if you saw that coming into your place of business, you would be like...
I'd be peeing myself.
Joker?
Yeah.
Right. And Joker's a little arrogant here because he's given these fish something to make them look like little jokers, and he thinks he can patent it. You know, this is Joker fish, and anytime somebody buys Joker fish, he'll get a cut of every fish sale in America. But I tell you what, I'm not buying a fish that looks like a Joker. What did he give those fish?
Right, exactly. But at the same time, the idea is so out of the box insane. You're like, well, I appreciate his ingenuity.
Right. And nobody dares saying, yeah, I'm not going to do that now. I mean, he come across and was like, yeah, well, the law says, and the Joker says, fill out the forms that are needed, these copyright forms. And he's like, well, the law says, and he keeps saying, well, he says, you don't want me to get angry. You wouldn't like me when I get angry.
Well, I almost forgot that he does a dad joke because the clerk says, good Lord. And Batman turns around and says, where? That's like, you know, when your kid says, I'm hungry. And you're like, hi, hungry, I'm dad.
Mm-hmm.
Just totally slipped in a dad joke. And I totally appreciate it.
Right. Okay, what were these jokes called before they were dad jokes? They were something else, because I never remember them called that like years ago.
I think they were just jokes. We just got older.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, Joker's told no. Joker, of course, does his threat. Man, that right before he leaves, there's a shot, a close-up of his face, which is, it's terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
And as much as I like Jim Aparo, one of my favorite Batman artists, his Joker, the structure of the face isn't necessarily realistic, but it looks great, so I run with it. Here, this looks like a real person. It kind of calls ahead to Jack Nicholson. It looks like a Nicholson Joker.
Yeah. I mean, just the way his hairline is structured, and I agree with that. And, you know, the smile, and I would love to hear an interview of, you know, Nicholas's take on the Joker. What did he read any source material? Did, you know, where did he take who his Joker was?
Yeah, it couldn't have been like Cesar Romero. There's not a trace of Cesar Romero in that one.
Right.
That's a good question. I'd love to pick his brain. And then, of course, Joker decides to push one of his henchmen right in front of a truck.
Yep.
And I actually laughed out loud at that. I don't know what that says about me, but I'm just going to confess it. I totally did.
Yeah. So you don't ask Joker any questions. You just, if you're in his gang, you just go along with everything. You don't ask him, what are you going to do now, boss? You don't ask him that because you just die.
You just do what he tells you, and you're probably going to die anyway.
Yeah, right.
I mean, really, you should probably make better career choices.
Yeah, you would think so.
And how does he gets to Rupert Thorne's office? Because the next scene is him in Rupert Thorne's bathroom. We don't know how long he's been waiting there.
Right.
It's a tobacconist club. How do you even get in? Oh, no, you don't ask questions. I'm sorry.
It's not like he could just go in there and nobody would notice him. I mean, he's wearing a purple suit.
Yeah, he stands out in a crowd. A purple suit. He's got, of course, the white face and the red lips and the green hair. He's got his ways. I think that's one of those things you have to accept about the character is sometimes he just doesn't make sense. And that's what makes him, that's one of the better elements of the character.
And that he's erratic, basically.
And then he just wants to make sure if Rupert does or does not know Batman's identity. Not because he wants it, but because he doesn't want to know it. Again, kind of talking that mirror of Silver St. Cloud. I was trying to think because there's been always this implication that he knows, but he doesn't acknowledge it, much like Gordon.
Right.
Do you believe in that, or?
I think so.
It was.
I was reading. Where was I reading? The Joker was like, "Oh, we can find out who the Bat is," but he's like, "That would." I'm trying to think where this was. He would be like, "That would all the fun would be gone if we knew who he was. That's for like me alone to find out when it's time, when I'm done with my game. You know, when I'm done with my game, I can find it out. Or maybe he does know and just don't care.
Yeah, and Scott Snyder, it sounds like that there was something like that in Scott Snyder's run. Although it became more blatant at that point.
Yeah. Well, he knew like who everybody was in Death in the Family. But then again, I don't necessarily love the focus being, you know, I don't think Joker shouldn't, if he knows, he shouldn't, you know, I like it being that, yeah, he doesn't care. And a little pet peeve of mine, it seems like everybody is beginning to know who's Batman's secret identity. There's a recent, you know, miniseries, Tom King, Penguins, and in the first 2 pages, the Penguin is calling Batman in costume Bruce.
What?
And that kind of just threw me out of that book. There's like, I don't even have any interest in reading that. He's calling him Bruce.
Yeah, that.
And I was like, is this in the future? What is this? And it's just like, do we need another one of his villains knowing who he is? I don't get that. I don't think that's unique. I don't think that's a new take. That's something doesn't interest me as much.
No, I agree. It's one thing, you know, for somebody like, I don't know, like one villain to know and to pick it up. Kind of like, I mean, to go to the other side of the street, like Green Goblin knowing Peter Parker's Spider-Man. That brings an element of danger when that character comes in. But when everybody knows, it's just, why are we bothering with this farce? So yeah, it kind of ruins the entire necessity or not necessity, just the whole fun of the secret identity. It loses something in the book overall.
That's what it seems like to me.
And then, I like the idea of Joker not caring. Like, yeah, I could probably find out any time, or I might even know, but I don't care. It's mine. I also love that. I'm going to go over this a little bit and we'll jump back on it. Joker set up the kill earlier in the issue.
Yeah.
Which goes back to one of his first appearances. It was similar. Because he had already infected the guy in Joker's first appearance. And I love that brilliance. That he's not just random. He's not completely off the rocker. He's got some ingenuity to him. Yeah.
He's not just this random psychopath that just does whatever, whenever. I think he wants you to think that, but that's not the case.
Because he's already planted that. I love that.
So I laughed out loud here. You know, Rupert Thorne got so scared from the Joker, he just runs out.
He just leaves town.
He runs out of his office and just leaves town. And I know here later he meets up with Silver St. Cloud, but I just think that's hilarious.
I don't know that I wouldn't do the same thing, though.
Right. I mean, he's not wrong, but I mean, you have a close encounter with the Joker. Most of the time, guys don't make it out alive.
No. And if they do, they don't make it out for very long. What was the episode? Joker's Favor. That's one of the ones. I know it's an episode of the show, but the guy runs into him in traffic and the Joker holds up, just starts messing with him. That's brilliant Joker. And that's this Joker. So I would be like, yep, I'm out of Gotham. I don't know that I'd ever go to Gotham in the first place, but.
No, I don't. No, I'm not visiting Gotham. And I really like, Batman is here at Mr. Francis's house, and the gas goes off, and he takes off his little gas mask off his utility belt and puts it on Mr. Francis and to try to save him.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as we said, things have already been done. But I like seeing Batman, do like hero stuff.
Yeah.
Like
he's laying his life on the line.
Right.
Yeah, I did like that. I just the scene where Francis, you can see his face contorting, is absolutely terrifying. Normally we just see the after effect. Here we kind of got to watch it happen.
So Rupert Thorne, as I said, runs into Silver St. Cloud, and he says, we met at Bruce Wayne's party, didn't we? Was it Silver? And she says, it was. Can you give me a lift? I'm in a hurry.
And I'm convinced that the panel where she's taking off her hood is sourced from somewhere, and I wish I could place it. But yeah, everything's lining up for what will be the epic conclusion. I feel like this was earned. Like all the pieces falling into place were actually earned because it was set up ahead of time, and this has the run has had good pacing and leading up to this. So it's not like, oh, it's weird that Silver ran into Rupert Thorne of all people. No, it's kind of earned.
And they're both trying to hit out of town.
One's running from Batman, one's running from Joker.
Very interesting. I like it. We'll get into the last part of this next issue, but I really like this version of the Joker. Mm-hmm. This is one of my favorites. And
well, he's crafty, he's cool, but he's still funny and evil.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow it just happens to be the best of all worlds. And it's not a Joker you see it very often because he's not completely homicidal. Although he is definitely homicidal. He's just not obsessed with it.
Right.
He's got a great idea trying to trademark the fish, which I think is one of the funniest things I've read in a Batman comic. And he tells dad jokes.
Yeah, he does. He does. So yeah, any final thoughts here?
No, this was just. I mean, we've polished this run's car, and I'm just going to continue to say, yeah, it continues to be earning its reputation as one of the best.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to head to what we learned.
To the Batmobile. Let's go. Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed. You're ready to move up.
So David, what did you learn in this episode?
I learned that when a bunch of villains are rushing at you, you don't necessarily get to identify all of them. And that's okay.
You have to have people in there that you haven't seen before, like
random eye patch guy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just random people standing there. And it's like, I don't even remember them in the movie. But they needed people in a group, so.
What did you learn this time around?
So I learned that if you're dating somebody and you just want them out of your life, you just rush into their bed, into their bedroom, and just say, "Hey,
did you have something to tell me?"
Yeah, you have something to tell me, and they will hightail it out of there like a bat out of hell, basically.
You got to make sure you go in through the window, though, like Dracula.
Yes, that was pretty funny. I just find it amusing they both are hightailing it out of there, because really, what is she hiding from? That she knows who Batman is, and that he knows the truth, and she doesn't want to confront him, and he doesn't want to confront her, and is that really they're just avoiding?
Kind of. I mean, once you put that secret out on the table, the relationship's going to change, and that's unpredictable, and that's scary. Maybe that's what I learned. Relationships are complicated and scary.
There you go. There you go. So, yeah. So, another couple good issues. So, we'll be back here in a couple weeks. But first, as always, do you have... and I don't want to laugh about this thing. Do you have any final thoughts or wisdom?
Yes, you can make your own Baja Blast at home with Blue Powerade, regular Mountain Dew, and regular Sprite. Taco Bell doesn't own you anymore.
There you go. So until next time, same bat time, same bat channel. We will see you later.